Jasodanandana Brajajanuranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanuranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Madhava Kunjabihari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajanuranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanuranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariva Jagacharya Astatara Satasi Simadis Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Shri Shri Dwarka Dham Ki Gaur Premanandi. I see some faces this morning that I didn't see yesterday evening. Maybe that's because it wasn't announced in advance that we would start the evening before, but I'll just summarize in a small message what I spoke yesterday. How to receive the opportunity of being here in Dwarka Dham in the best possible way. The place itself is fully transcendental, which means it's beyond the senses to perceive, beyond the mind to even imagine. It's part of the nature of transcendence. So we'll be hearing messages that are transcendental. So we can't understand them with our empiric capacity. Just listening to Prabhupada describing there's intelligent and there's over-intelligent. Intelligent means you hear Krishna's message and you say yes. In the beginning stage, even if you don't understand, you say yes, follow the process, and gradually that which you couldn't understand, you can understand. He used the term blind faith. Now, he generally would speak against blind faith. But blind faith, by that he meant faith. I may understand, I may not understand, but I hear with faith. Because that's, according to Rupa Goswami's teaching, and a little common sense, the starting point is faith. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Ashratadana Purusha, Dharmasyasya Parantapa. Without faith, one is Mogasha, Moga Karma, no Moga Jnana Vachetasa. One's defeated. We cannot receive our time spent in Dwaraka without some preliminary faith. And for us, followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that source in which we place our faith, that pramana, or means of proof of what we're going to be hearing, is Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll hear some more about the other Puranas and Srimad Bhagavatam and their relationship this morning. But on the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear transcendental messages, as in Bhagavad Gita about the soul, and as in Bhagavad Gita about the Supreme Soul who is within the heart. And then we hear about the loving relationship between the individual soul and the Supreme Soul through bhakti. This is all transcendental knowledge. I'll say it again. Empiric study cannot understand it. Because empiric study cannot understand it, either is rejected or misinterpreted, misunderstood, twisted beyond recognition, and knowledge is lost. Yoga nashta parantapa. So here we are in Dwarka, where we'll be hearing the transcendental loving dealings of Krishna. What is our wish or our goal from this yatra? To become profoundly attached to Krishna. And Krishna is in fullness. As we heard yesterday, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes the one essential verse out of the whole of Srimad Bhagavatam that is the emperor that rules all of the other wonderful verses, is Ete Changsa Kala Puksa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the origin of everything, and all the other expansions and everything comes from one thing, and that's Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. Yesterday evening we heard this Swayam Bhagavan Krishna has different features. There's this feature in Dwaraka, in which, listen carefully, it's repeating on purpose, Krishna is full. But he doesn't exhibit that fullness. In Dwarka, in Mathura, Krishna exhibits his fullness, but not fully. And in Vrindavan, he exhibits his fullness fully. Therefore, followers of Srimad Bhagavatam and the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu especially revere Krishna in Vrindavan. Naturally so. The 64 qualities of Krishna, the top 4 qualities are exclusive to Vrindavan. In Dwaraka, Krishna doesn't have a flute. He has loving pastimes. But those loving pastimes, they're very, very personal. They're very human-like. Those of you that were here yesterday You remember that chart? The painting of Devi Dham, Mahesh Dham, Hari Dham, and Goloka Dham. Yeah? We're down here. It's a place of darkness. It's a place of darkness. Some light may come by descending mercy, transcendental knowledge of the realm beyond this dark place, which we can only access through faith and through proper hearing, and rendering of service according to that inspiration that we receive. Brahma looking up, and we're followers of Brahma. He's the head of our sampradaya. Brahma's looking up, and beyond the covering of Devi Dham, this material creation, is Mahesh Dham. It's in the region of light. And above Mahesh Dham, Lord Shiva, above Mahesh Dham is Hari Dham. And Hari Dham, we described yesterday, it's manifesting Aishvarya, means opulence. The opulence of heaven is so far beyond the opulence of this realm, earth. The opulences of the coverings of the universe are millions of times greater, each one of them, than the previous one, far greater than the opulence of heaven. Beyond that is the opulence of Lord Shiva's abode, Shiva Dham, or Mahesh Dham. Above that is Hari Dham, or Vaikuntha. Spiritual opulence. Any opulence here is but a reflection only. Reflections are not, there's no substance in a reflection. It looks like, because it's a reflection, but there's no substance. This is an essential teaching of the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada's language is just category, and their substance. There's a deep philosophical message, but I won't go there. Even Plato understood this one. Studied in college philosophy. He inferred deductively that there's a realm of absolutes. Why? Just very quickly. He uses exhaustively the example of chair. So here's a chair. There's a chair because somewhere there's a realm where there's chairs. Inductively. So somebody got the idea. Where'd they get the idea from? From the realm of absolutes. They got the idea, chair. And then taking the ingredients of matter, they made a chair. Before the chair existed, there was just ingredients. And after the chair is finished, it's just ingredients. But chair is notional or category. There's substance, a realm of absolutes, just by inference and logic. It's not proof, it's just inferring. There must be. Well, there is. But what is that realm like? Transcendental knowledge that's descending, not inductive knowledge. Not the over-intelligent, where one speculates what that is. That's over-intelligent. Intelligent is one receives and one accepts. That's intelligent. So we're going to be hearing about above Hari Dham, if you remember from yesterday, the topmost region of Hari Dham is Ayodhya. What differentiates Vaikuntha from Ayodhya? It's still the same region, but it's the human-like nature. Imagine in Vaikuntha that the goddess of fortune is kidnapped by a demon. No way. But in Ramchandra's pastimes, manifest here on earth, the goddess of fortune is kidnapped. And he laments. Human-like. And so many other, part of the beauty, the affinity for Ram's pastimes is the human-like feelings that he felt. But his feelings weren't human-like, they were transcendental feelings, but to us they look human-like. So that's the topmost region of Haridham. Above that, according to Brahma Samhita, there's a whole other realm, Goloka. And each successively, each of the aspects of Goloka become more human-like, more human-like, more human-like, so much filled with sweetness, not just human-like, but sweetness, madhurya, madhu means honey, or sweet, filled with sweetness. The sweetness is so strong. The opulence feature of Krishna in Vrindavan, the residents of Vrindavan can't even see it. They see it, but they can't see it. Just like here, people can't see things that are obvious. Why? They're covered by the modes of nature and karma and lust and anger and greed and affinity for matter. They can't see. Pashyati na pashyati. They see but they cannot see. They hear but they cannot hear. We want to go beyond that. The metaphor used yesterday, coming from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is oil. Pour some oil in water, what happens? It doesn't mix with water. It spreads very, very thin. And you can't see the water. So our objective here in Dwarka is to go beneath the oil, enter into the water, enter into the Dham, the loving pastimes of Krishna. You'll hear it again and again. Human-like in many ways. Human-like, just like yesterday. When Narada Muni went to visit Krishna in Dwaraka, we saw that nice painting. Narada's flying in the air, playing his veena, looking down upon Dwaraka, and he entered the palaces, and Krishna was doing ordinary things that Narayana in Vaikuntha doesn't do. He was doing. Because he's not the Lord of Vaikuntha, he is the Lord of Dwarka, where he's exhibiting human-like features. And we'll hear more and more of the human-like features, not only how Krishna received Narada as a Kshatriya receives a Brahmana. It's his whole pastimes here in Dwarka that we hear from Srimad Bhagavatam and such transcendental sources. They're human-like, while at the same time filled with opulence. Opulence that exceeds millions of times the opulence of Vaikuntha. Phew. That's inconceivable. But that's the sound vibration that we're receiving. So he moves between the exhibiting the mood and the opulences of the all-opulent Bhagavan, and back and forth between the seemingly worldly husband, friend, devotee, devoted to the Brahmanas, and so forth. There's inconceivableness, there's tension. You'll hear more about it as we proceed. And as we go through sound vibration, it's very deep. Beneath the oil, there's the ocean. And this is an ocean of rasa that has no bottom. Something like the churning of the milk ocean. You know that pastime from the Bhagavatam? In the milk ocean, where's the bottom of the milk ocean? When they put them under a mountain and were trying to churn it, it just went down because there's no bottom. So what did the Lord do? He appeared as Kurma, so the Mundra mountain could rest on his back so he could get his back itched. And where did Kurma rest? Well, he didn't rest on anything. He doesn't need to rest on anything because he's the source of everything. Inconceivable. And that's the nature of this holy Dham Dwarka. It's part of Krishna's eternal abode, Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavan, that he manifests on earth. Srimad Bhagavatam has recorded those pastimes by the mercy of Vyasa and spoken by Shukadev and passed on through disciplic succession so we can understand this is our Lord, this is our worshipable Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, who is the source of everything. We're hearing about him. We're hearing about his nature, disclosed through his pastimes, his nature of love, his nature of compassion, his nature of enjoying rasa, and how Krishna enjoys rasa. It's just, wow. It's wonderful. With our tiny brain, we can't understand it. With our proper intelligence, we just receive it, hear it nicely, in a heart that becomes pure by being in the Dham and all of the other activities of bhakti. And gradually, the truths about the mystery of Krishna will become disclosed to you. And like Narada, you'll become more attached to Krishna. And like Narada, because he's the disciple of Brahma, our Acharya, founder of our sampradaya. And what does Narada do? He goes here and there and just chants the glories of Krishna. So that's a hint of what we can do when we leave. We can go here and there and appropriate for the circumstance, according to our capacity, with heart filled with faith and increased understanding and attachment to Krishna. Chant the glories of Krishna. That's why we're here. Very nice. What's our qualification? We could recite our disqualifications. That would be real easy. What's our qualification? Just yadrichchaya is our qualification, means somehow or another. It's a nice word. Yadrichchaya. Inexplicable mercy. Manifest in the form of our founder Acharya, receiving inexplicable mercy from the disciplic succession, particularly his spiritual master, the immediate link, but the entire disciplic succession, the mercy of Krishna. We receive the mercy of Krishna, although undeserving, unqualified, disqualified, we receive some mercy. And that we should be so grateful for. And to grow that mercy, we're here in the Holy Dham to hearing the pastimes of Krishna anywhere is wonderful and powerful and glorious. Hearing in the Holy Dham, in the midst of kirtan, and the association of so many wonderful devotees. Our goal is to go more deeply into the mystery of Krishna, understand his nature, become more attached to him, so that as we are here, as one becomes more attached to him, your thoughts just go to him. And as your thoughts just go to him, you go to him. That's why we're here. So now I want to make a connection between our South India Yatra The yatra just prior to this one was in South India. We ended at Guruvayur. Those of you that were there, you'll remember. Those of that you were not, you'll be hearing for the first time. There's a wonderful connection between Dwarka and Guruvayur. For those of you that are from faraway places, Guruvayur is a place of pilgrimage in the state of Kerala. And there's a deity named Guru Vayur. Guruvayur Puri is the place. The deity is a deity of Krishna. It's a wonderful pastime of Krishna in which Krishna is manifesting himself here in Dwarka, expanded kind of like an embassy to Guruvayur. There's a wonderful pastime of Krishna in which Krishna was the Ishtadev, or the worshipable deity of Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma, he worshipped a deity of Krishna. And by Krishna's kind arrangement, that deity of Lord Brahma was given to Prishni and Sutapa to worship. In turn, Kashyapa and Aditi received that same deity of Krishna. And Vasudeva and Devaki, while in the prison of Kamsa, they were Domya, the priest and sage, Domya Rishi, gave the deity of Krishna to Vasudeva and Devaki before Krishna was born, and they worshipped this deity of Krishna. After Krishna's departure, the arrangement was made by Krishna himself that this deity of Krishna was transported to Dwaraka when Dwaraka was manifest. And the deity was installed, the deity of Krishna was installed in Dwaraka and worshipped. This deity that's now in Guruvayur, worshipped by Krishna, deity of Krishna, worshipped by Krishna. And at the end of Krishna's pastimes, what happened to Dwaraka? He speaks in the Bhagavatam to Uddhava. In several days' time, the entire city of Dwarka will be covered by the ocean. The city of Dwarka appeared and then was withdrawn. Krishna told that to Uddhava. And he told Uddhava, I have one request of you. Please make an arrangement through your spiritual master. Who is the spiritual master of Uddhava? Brahaspati. Brahaspati is also the guru of the demigods. We'll hear some more that Uddhava is an eternal associate of Krishna, but when Uddhava took part in Krishna's pastimes on earth, an expansion of one of the Vasus, we'll hear the detail, who are the Vasus and so forth. One of the Vasus desired to participate in Krishna's pastimes, so that Vasu expansion became part of or amalgamated within Uddhava. And after Uddhava departed, that Vasu returned to his place. And Vasudeva and Uddhava continued with Krishna's eternal pastimes. Very deep mystery. So the spiritual master of Uddhava was Brahaspati. Krishna said, go to your spiritual master, give him this service. Ask Brihaspati to make an arrangement that this deity of Krishna, the deity of myself, Uddhava, should not be in any difficulty. Presently that deity is within the ocean, as the whole of Dwarka was under the ocean, or again within the ocean. So Uddhava went to Brihaspati. Brihaspati immediately accepted that service, and he went to where Dwarka had been, in the middle of the sea, or within the sea. And as he was traveling, one of his disciples, Vayu, Guru Vayur, Vayu, one of his disciples, saw him. He told him where he was going. Vayu accompanied him. So Brihaspati and Vayu came to the place where Dwarka had been, but is now underwater. Brihaspati requested another disciple, Varuna, to please make their visit to the place where the temple of the Krishna deity was accessible. Immediately Varuna agreed. The sea parted. Vayu and Brihaspati entered, and they found the deity. Vayu was to carry the deity on his head, and Vayu just followed wherever Brihaspati indicated. The instruction given by Krishna to Uddhava was the deity should be placed in a proper place without the detail. So they searched here, there, everywhere, looking for proper place. You know, when you have some service, you don't always succeed right away understanding how to carry out the service, right? So, but they had a service, and there must be an answer, so they searched and searched. And they came to a place that Brihaspati understood this is a suitable place. In the state of Kerala, where everything very, very beautiful, and trees and birds, and the beautiful description is there. Suitable place. So Vayu is still carrying the deity of Krishna. And they descend, and where they descend, there's a lake. It's a lake where they saw Lord Shiva and Parvati enjoying together. So they came and very submissively approached Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva was so pleased. Brihaspati, the priest of the demigods, you've come. There must be submission. I've been waiting for you, actually. I know that you've been coming with a deity of Krishna, and I've just been waiting. This place, Rudra Tirtha it's called, is a vast lake, according to the Bhagavatam. It was like the sea, very, very vast. Some explanation is given. The sea at that time, the ocean, came there. But now, when we go to Guruvayur, there's a lake. Lord Shiva says, this is my place. I especially enjoy this place in many, many ways. At this place, I gave wonderful prayers to the Lord. More later. And the Prachetas achieved perfection by entering into that lake, reciting the prayers that Lord Shiva had given them. Lord Vishnu appeared and benedicted them, and so forth and so on. We'll hear more. So this is a very special place. On the southern side, some distance, where the land is flat, you please install the deity of Krishna. And the deity of Krishna will be known according to your two names, Guru, Vayu. So Guru Vayu Puri, or Guru Vayur. The deity came from Dwarka. The deity that's now worshipped by who knows how many millions of pilgrims. Krishna in Dwarka went to Guru Vayur. Another opulence and glory of Dwarka, and a deity of Krishna from Dwarka, came in the form of the deity that's now at Udupi. Udupi, Krishna. This is described by one of the acharyas in the line of Madhvacharya, describing the life of Madhvacharya, who very much desired to worship a form of Krishna. So that the followers in Udupi, because he had established his place in Udupi before the deity of Krishna appeared. Deity of Krishna appeared later. Here's how the deity of Krishna appeared. In Dwaraka, Devaki is the mother of Krishna, who had not had the chance to see Krishna's childhood pastimes, desired very much to see Krishna's childhood pastimes. So Devaki, mother of Krishna, approached Krishna and requested him, please show me your childhood pastimes. As Mother Jasoda experienced, I didn't have that good fortune to see your pastimes. Please display your pastimes of childhood. Krishna smiled, and kind of in reverse, as he did in the prison house of Kamsa, Krishna assumed a childlike form, not a baby form, and began playing in the lap of Devaki and pulling on her sari, and as she was trying to churn butter, holding the rope, and the same pastimes that Mother Jasoda experienced. And this went on for some time. Devaki was thrilled, fully satisfied. Then Krishna assumed his adult form. Rukmini, pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, that she saw Krishna perform with Devaki. Krishna holding a butter churn, some childhood paraphernalia in his hands. And she worshipped that deity. And after some time, when Krishna's departure took place, Arjuna, the deity, became covered in mud, or Gopi Chandan. During the time of Madhvacharya, there were some merchants, and they wanted something very heavy, ballast, it's called, to place in the bottom, the hull of the ship, so the ship wouldn't tilt. They found this huge piece of Gopi Chandan that was very, very heavy. They didn't know why, because there was a deity of Krishna inside, and they placed this in their ship for ballast. And they were traveling along the coast, and as they reached near Udupi, there was a sand dune, and the ship in a storm got caught on the sand dune. Madhvacharya at that time was in the midst of writing some very special prayers in glorification of Krishna. And he went to the sea to take his bath, and when he went to the sea, he saw the ship stuck on the sand dune, so he took his cloth and just waved his cloth. And with his waving of his cloth, the ship became free. Madhvacharya is pretty powerful. And then he guided the ship to come to the shore. The captain of the ship said, I'm so indebted to you. You've rescued our boat. Can I give you something? And he said, well, you have some Gopi Chandan in your boat. Can you give me that? It took 30 men to lift the Gopi Chandan off the boat and place it on the shore. Madhvacharya knew. 30 of his strongest followers tried to lift the Gopi Chandan. They couldn't lift the Gopi Chandan. Madhvacharya, being very strong, lifted Gopi Chandan, brought it to Udupi. When he set it down, the Gopi Chandan broke open, and there is the deity of Krishna. That was worshipped by Rukmini. But exhibiting the feature of Krishna's childhood pastimes in Vrindavan. Krishna is mystical. He expands. And how many worshippers go to Udupi since the time of Madhvacharya? The mercy of Krishna has expanded from Dwarka to many, many places. And through our great acharyas, and particularly our founder acharya, through the vast distribution in many languages of the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, the glories of Krishna in Dwaraka and Mathura and Vrindavan are being distributed everywhere. There are different methods of Krishna's mercy being given to many. But this place, Dwaraka, is a seat from which many, many pastimes of Krishna and the glories of Krishna have been expanded. We're in Dwaraka, where there's a main temple of Krishna named Dwarkadish. And I think you heard the little announcement that says, this is a holiday season in India, and as a result, there are lots of people going to see the Dwarkadish deity. If we went together, it would take the whole day. So the arrangement is you may go visit the temple at your own leisure. We'll have times, there's breaks. I'm going to be describing from Skanda Purana what's inside the temple. That's what we're doing next. So Skanda Purana is one of the 18 principal Puranas. There's Mahapuranas, Puranas, and Upapuranas. The Mahapuranas had 10 subject matters. The Puranas have 5, and the Upapuranas have less than 5. They're all composed by Vyasa. They're from the original one Veda, so they're as Vedic as the Shrutis, but they're composed in a particular way to help us understand the message of Shrutis through narration. The Skanda Purana, how many verses does Srimad Bhagavatam have? 18,000, right? Skanda Purana is 81,000. How many of you have been to Jagannath Puri? Wow. Me too. Okay, so the places where the temples are, and details and details and details and details and details, is based upon Skanda Purana. In fact, even the procedure of the worship of Lord Jagannath and Jagannath Rath Yatra and the colors and of the deities on different days and everything comes from Skanda Purana. Same here in Dwarka. The Skanda Purana, these 81,000 verses, has 7 sections. One of those sections is about Puri. Puri is called Purushottam Kshetra. And in the Purushottam Kshetra section of Skanda Purana, there's 49 chapters. And that's just part of the Vishnu Kanda section, one of 7 sections, where Tirupati is also described in 40 chapters. Badrinath, 8 chapters. Kartik, which we're in the midst of, has 36 chapters. You get the idea, it's like vast. That's just Vishnu Purana. That's one of 7 sections. There's glorification in Skanda Purana of Srimad Bhagavatam, specifically chapters of Skanda Purana glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam under the Vishnu Kanda section. There's Avanti Kanda. Some of you live near Udupi, so we're going to hear some more about that. But there's many chapters about Avanti. There's many chapters about Prabhas Kanda. Prabhas is in the vicinity of Dwarka. It's the place where Krishna's entire Yadu dynasty departed, and many other things we'll hear when we're going to go to Prabhas. There's 365 chapters just about Prabhas. The Prabhas area, 19 chapters. And the Raivata mountain, we'll go to that area. It's where King Raivata transported a whole mountain. We'll hear the whole story. And where Krishna married the daughter of Raivata's daughter, Raivata's son name was? Can't recall. His daughter was Revati. Kukudmi. Kukudmi was the son of Raivata. Kukudmi's daughter was Revati. She married Balaram in this region. And there's 44 chapters about Dwaraka. So one of the chapters from Skanda Purana dealing with Dwaraka describes how Dwaraka was manifest. And the reason for narrating this is the temple that we'll visit here in Dwaraka, the main temple. The deity, the whole arrangement there is set up based upon this Dwarka Mahatmya section of Prabhas Kanda of Skanda Purana. That's why we're narrating it. It differs from the Bhagavatam description of how Dwaraka was manifest. After breakfast, we'll hear that. So I'm narrating this one in case you want to go see the deity of Dwarkadish. You'll understand a little bit why things are the way they are. It's very puzzling. For example, the mystery is very deep. The deity of Rukmini is some distance away from the deity of Krishna, Dwarkadish. And it has to do with what's said in Skanda Purana. That's why I'm narrating. And then we'll hear what the Bhagavatam has to say. So now, how does this work? It says this in Skanda Purana and that in Srimad Bhagavatam, so what do? We can scratch our head. Or we can understand from Jiva Goswami why we accept Srimad Bhagavatam as the topmost evidence or pramana. In Tattva Sandarbha, I won't go at great lengths, but it's a very fascinating description. It's now available through BBT, the Paddi in English, Tattva Sandarbha, where Jiva Goswami says, keeping it really short, I want to talk about Krishna. But before we talk about Krishna, we want to talk about Krishna. Before talking about Krishna, we should first establish what is the best means of knowing about Krishna. And he goes through all this long description and says, in short, the Vedas are the best means of knowing about anything that's transcendental. And amongst the Vedas, the Puranas are best. And amongst the Puranas, those in the mode of goodness are best. referring to Bhagavad Gita saying, of the modes of nature, the mode of goodness is best. Urdvam gacchanti sattvasta. Those who are situated in sattva, or goodness, they go up. Madhye tishtanti rajasa. Those that are in the mode of passion, they stay in this middle region. And ho gacchanti tamasa. Those who are in the mode of ignorance, they go down. So go up. The mode of goodness is best. Then he refers to a section of Padma Purana, which is one of the Puranas in the mode of goodness, that indicates out of these 18 Mahapuranas, remember that one? There's 10 subject matters that makes the Mahapurana. There's 18 of them. There's 6, 6, and 6 makes 18. There's 6 in the mode of goodness. I'll list them if you like. 6 in the mode of passion, 6 in the mode of ignorance, and Skanda Purana is in that third category. It doesn't mean it's an ignorant Purana. Jiva Goswami explains, there are days of Brahma, just like we have our days, and some days we're doing much better. Some days we're doing not so well. And some days we're really productive. According to Jiva Goswami, this indicates the Puranas that are particularly, according to the days of Brahma, strongly influenced by this mode, that mode, or the other mode. Although he is a devotee, these modes have some influence upon him. Krishna's descending mercy is there, and he nonetheless understands about Krishna. So there's sections in this Skanda Purana, one of the tamasic group, mode of ignorance group of Puranas. They glorify Krishna, they glorify the Bhagavatam, but sometimes it's mixed. Where it seems, although they've in one place glorified Krishna, you'll hear in this section I'm going to describe glorifying Krishna above Brahma and Lord Shiva, which is the fact. But sometimes there's narrations that appear otherwise, without an explanation. The explanation given is Krishna sometimes likes to defer to his devotee. In any case, I'm just explaining that what I'm about to narrate is not Shuddha Sattva, because among those 6 that are in goodness, there's one amongst the 6 that's no mix. According to Bhagavad Gita, when there's the modes of nature are acting, even if the mode of goodness is predominant in someone's life, there's some mixture of ignorance and passion. And then they compete for supremacy, and sometimes a good person becomes angry, or a good person becomes lusty. But the mode of goodness prevails after some time, because they're in the mode of goodness. But there's another mode that's no mix, and that's not even material nature, it's Shuddha Sattva. So the Bhagavatam is glorified in the Skanda Purana as Shuddha Sattva. It's superlative. So that means its authority is superior to the authority of Skanda Purana. Although the Skanda Purana says this, if the Bhagavatam says that, then it's that. But we appreciate the Skanda Purana in its glorification of Dwarka, in the Dwarka Mahatmya section of the Prabhas Kanda of Skanda Purana. Okay? I'll say it again. I'm going to say something contradictory, or the Bhagavatam says something contradictory about the appearance of about the appearance of Dwarka. We're going to hear about the appearance of Dwarka from Skanda Purana. So don't be disturbed or confused or anything like that. Because the temple that we're going to, and not only the temple, the whole Prabhas and the whole area, the whole tract of land, the physical, visible part, has been established on the authority of Skanda Purana. Long ago, Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni is a partial expansion of Lord Shiva. That description is found in the Bhagavatam. Durvasa Muni being a partial expansion of Lord Shiva has qualities like Lord Shiva, very powerful. And he's easily angered and easily pleased. Ashutosh, easily pleased, easily angered. He's a Brahmana, and he strictly follows Brahminical rule for purification. So, one time, Durvasa Muni came to Dwarka, to a particular place in Dwarka that is known in the scriptures as being auspicious for relieving one of any trace of past sins, where the river Gomati meets the sea. It's a place called Chakra Tirtha. We'll hear in a while why it's called Chakra Tirtha. The Sudarshan Chakra of Lord Vishnu is where it gets its name, Chakra Tirtha. So he came to Gomati and the sea, Chakra Tirtha, to take a sacred bath. He did the preliminary rituals. He was prepared to enter into the confluence of the river and the sea at Chakratirtha when some soldiers doing the bidding of the local ruler at the time, whose name was Kusha. Kusha, being a demon, had a rule. No one could perform Vedic rituals in my kingdom. Sounds like King Vena. And so, as Durvasa was entering into this confluence of the river and the sea, the soldiers grabbed him and started roughing him up and insulting him and beating him. You don't do that with Durvasa Muni. Fortunately, one of the brighter ones amongst these soldiers stopped them. Ruru was his name, and don't kill him. So the rest of the soldiers picked him up, carried him out of their kingdom along the sea, and threw him in the sea. Said, "Don't come back or you're dead." Durvasa Muni could have immediately burned them to ashes. But he didn't. Doesn't give the reason why he didn't exactly. Why waste my Brahminical power on these fellows? Let me turn to the person who can defeat them, Lord Vishnu. As he was considering like that, Narada Muni just happened conveniently to pass by, and Narada Muni was inquired from, "You look very disturbed, Durvasa. What happened?" He narrated, and Narada suggested that you go to Lord Vamana. No, the deity of Dwarkadish that we'll go to see while we're here is a deity of Vamana or Trivikrama. It's not a deity of Krishna, but you'll hear why, because it's from Skanda Purana. Go to Sutala. Where's Sutala? Sutala is in the lower region of the universe, where Bali Maharaj was given the kingdom to rule by Lord Vamana, and Vamana committed to be the gatekeeper of Bali's kingdom in Sutala. So Durvasa went to Sutala. And when he reached Sutala, Bali, who was the son of Virochana, who was the son of Prahlad Maharaj, Bali received him very, very wonderfully. Details are described in Skanda Purana. And then he asked Bali, Kshatriya, asked the Brahmana Durvasa, why have you come? He said, I was sent here by Narada to request Vamana to come and assist me with the problem. No. Bali said, do what you like. By some good fortune, I've gotten the association, the mercy of Lord Vamana, and I will not part with his 2 lotus feet for anything. Vamana overheard the discussion. Durvasa asked Vamana, please come. Vamana said, I have to do what my devotee says. I can't act independently of my devotee. That's his nature. Bali said no. Vamana said, please say yes. I have to protect my devotee. Not only that, but this Kusha, it's not only the Brahmana Durvasa, but all pilgrims of Brahminical caliber. I must protect the Brahmanas. I must protect the Brahmanas. So please say yes. So reluctantly, Bali said yes. Balaram decided to accompany Vamana. Balaram took his plow. Lord Vamana had his weapons, and off they went to Chakratirtha with Durvasa Muni, the threesome. Durvasa Muni started loudly chanting Vedic hymns to prepare for his bath, sacred bath at Chakratirtha. The demons heard. They came running with weapons and were ready to stop forcefully Durvasa. Krishna couldn't tolerate that. Krishna annihilated the leading soldiers. The rest of the soldiers went back to inform Kusha, the king. At that time, Kusha was worshipping Lord Shiva, his worshipable deity, and anointed after his worship with a sacred bath and then a special garland and special clothing and this and that. The soldiers informed Kusha what happened. His leading generals were annihilated by Vishnu. And Durvasa Muni is here ready to take his sacred bath, and you've prohibited. Kusha became enraged, called for his entire army. He heard that Durvasa was a partial incarnation of his worshipable Lord Shiva, so he decided not to harm him. But he wanted to harm Balaram and Vamana. Big mistake. So a battle ensued. So many people were killed. Kusha himself was beheaded with the Sudarshan Chakra. One of the generals took the head of Sudarshan Chakra back to Kusha's kingdom. Kanjanaka took his head and the rest of his body, because they were in 2 parts, back to his kingdom, placed the head and the rest of his body before a deity of Lord Shiva, had a big ritual. Lord Shiva put the head back together with the body, and Kusha regained his life. Kusha then sent his minister, whose name was Sumana, take a message to Vishnu, because this is a sacred place and it's meant for Brahmanas for purification, and you're stopping Brahmanas for purification. I can't tolerate that. And your soldiers were stopping that, so I killed them. I protect the Brahmanas and Brahminical culture, if necessary, by force. Sumanta brought that message back to Kusha. According to Skanda Purana, Lord Vishnu then asked Durvasa Muni, how did it happen that Kusha regained his life? I killed him. Durvasa Muni contemplated and said, so this is the human-like. Durvasa Muni informed Vishnu what happened. Shiva restored his life. So Vishnu understands it's not sufficient just to cut off his head or kill him. So because he came with a mace, Kusha came with a mace, Krishna killed him with a mace, and then he put his body under the ground, covered it with earth, and put a deity of Lord Shiva on top. When we go to see the deity of Dwarkadish, there's a deity called Kusheshwara. That's a deity of Lord Shiva, who's the Ishwara, the Lord of Kusha. So basically, Kusheshwara said, you got me. You're very tricky. You're very clever. Because Lord Shiva would continue to restore my life, so I'll stay underneath and I'm not going to disrupt the deity of Lord Shiva. Therefore, I request you one thing. Just call the deity Kusheshwara, please. So according to Skanda Purana, in the main deity there's a Kusheshwara Mahadev deity. When Durvasa Muni understood the mercy of Lord Vishnu, he understood, I want to make this my eternal residence, and so there's a special place for Durvasa Muni, a little shrine honoring Durvasa Muni. According to Skanda Purana, the city of Dwaraka had not been manifest yet. Chakratirtha was there, but the city of Dwarka. So then, from Garga Samhita, now we're moving from Skanda Purana to Garga Samhita, there's a slightly different narration. This is Garga Muni. Who's Garga Muni? He's the name-giving ceremony for Krishna and Balaram was performed by Garga Muni, a very qualified Brahmana in Mathura. One time, Garga Muni visited Shaunaka. Shaunaka is the same person who's asking the questions in Srimad Bhagavatam to Sutta, Shaunaka Rishi. So, Garga visited Shaunaka. Shaunaka started asking questions. His first question is, how often does Lord Vishnu, who removes all inauspiciousness in this world, how often does he descend? Garga Muni said, wonderful question. This was a question that was asked long ago by King Bahulashva. King Bahulashva, the very end of the Bhagavatam, Krishna goes to visit King Bahulashva, the end of the 10th canto. Great devotee of Krishna in a remote place. So Bahulashva was once visited by Narada Muni, and Bahulashva asked the same question, Garga Muni, that you just asked, the Shaunaka that you just asked. But he asked two questions. Why does Krishna appear, and how often does he appear? And the third question was, in this age of Kali, it's very difficult to find shelter of the personality of Godhead. How is he to be found in this age? The answer is the deity that is in Dwarkadish. This is from Skanda Purana. So the manifesting of Dwarka is in this narration. These questions, those of you that are familiar with Bhagavatam know they're very similar to the questions in the first chapter, Canto 1. There's 10 questions. 3 of them are here, or similar. Why does he come? How often does he come? And during the age of Kali, how is his mercy to be received? That's what King Bahalashtra wanted to know. Narada's reply, by hearing the reason for Dwaraka's arrival on this earth, even a great sinner or even a murderer becomes pure at heart. So we're getting the chance to become pure at heart by hearing this narration of Dwaraka's appearance. His narration begins from the beginning of the reign of Manu number 7, which is our present Manu named Vaivasvata Manu. In Vaivasvata Manu, the lineage from Vaivasvata Manu begins in Canto 9. Well, it continues from earlier cantos. Yes, from Canto 9. And there was a king who was one of the sons of Vaivasvata Manu, whose name was Sharyati. Sharyati had a daughter, Sukanya. Sukanya, playful girl with her friends, was in a garden one time and she saw these glowing orbs in the midst of the garden. She took a stick and pierced the glowing orbs and some blood came oozing out. She was shocked. And it turned out it was a great sage, Chavana Muni. Don't mess with Chavana Muni. So his sight was restored, and Sharyati gave his daughter Sukanya to this grumpy, old Chavana Muni. But she served him so nicely that his grumpiness went away, and he became nice. Sharyati and Chavana Muni. Sharyati also had 3 sons. One of those 3 sons was Anartha. Anartha. Not the same as the impurities of heart. It's Anartha, not T-H-A. Anartha. That was one of his sons. Anartha, Bhagavatam describes, had one of his sons was Revati, King Revati. Revata. The Bhagavatam describes that Revata had a son, Kukudmi, who had a daughter, Revati, who married Balaram. This narration is a little different. It goes like this. Sharyati said to his 3 sons, I'm going to divide my kingdom. I rule the whole world, and I'm going to divide my kingdom into 3 parts. And he divided the kingdom. And he started speaking like an atheist. I am very powerful, I rule everything, everything is mine, and now I'm passing it on to you. One of his sons, Anartha, said, Dad, you're in Maya. Bluntly. And said, there's one Supreme Lord, He's in charge of everything, He's the ruler, He's the power, everything belongs to Him, and you think otherwise? You're covered by false ego, and how can you possibly do anything properly because you're covered by false ego? Whoa. His father didn't like to hear that. So his father said, get out of my kingdom. I take back the kingdom that I was going to give you, and instead you can live somewhere else besides my kingdom, which is the whole world. So Anartha said, yes, Dad. And he entered the sea. And for austerities for 10,000 years, this is the previous yuga, within the sea, he performed austerities. Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, appeared. You pleased me very much by your austerity and your devotion to me. What is it that you would like? He said, I would like a kingdom that's not part of my father's kingdom. Because I'm a Kshatriya, I have to rule. So Lord Vasudeva said, well, there's no, Sharyati rules earth, and I don't have another earth in this universe. And so what I'll do is I'll carve out part of Vaikuntha with my Sudarshan chakra and bring it here within the sea. So with his Sudarshan chakra, 800-mile portion of Vaikuntha was carved out and manifested to become the kingdom of Anartha, which he ruled for thousands of years. And all the opulence of Vaikuntha was manifested in his kingdom. His father was really impressed. And Anartha had a son named Revata. This description says, Revata brought a part of a mountain from Mount Shaila's son. No explanation of what's a mountain from Mount Shaila's son. He brought it to this area, and it became then part of the kingdom of Anartha, where Kushasthali and Revata, the son of Anartha, ruled. So these are names for this area based upon this ancient scripture. And in this narration it says, anyone who sees Dwaraka city attains opulence like Lord Narayan. So we're seeing it, or at least we're seeing the oil part. It depends upon our ears whether they're seeing the rest of it. A person who sees Dwaraka, hears about it, or speaks the word, Dwaraka, thinks everything else to be a piece of straw. When he dies, he attains the supreme destination. Dwaraka, Dwaraka, Dwaraka. Because the place is not different than the person. The abode of Krishna is not different than Krishna. Just as the name of Krishna is not different than Krishna. He's absolute. So now, be prepared for something that sounds very strange. Durvasa Muni curses Rukmini, and it sticks. Who can curse the goddess of fortune? Nobody. But Skanda Purana describes it. Krishna upholds it because it came from a Brahmana. And the palace, or the temple of Rukmini is separate. She's not with Krishna. You'll hear. The reason for narrating this is because that's how things are laid out here in Dwaraka, based upon Skanda Purana. So back to Skanda Purana. Shaunaka continues asking, O Sutta, Skanda Purana, O Sutta, because Sutta, who is Sutta? Sutta is the son of Romaharshan. And Sutta narrates not only Srimad Bhagavatam, but he narrates the Puranas. His father, Romaharshan, was entrusted with the Puranas, who he trained Sutta, and Sutta narrated them. Sutta narrated Srimad Bhagavatam because he heard in detail from Shukadeva Goswami, and then he narrates. But the other Puranas he heard from his father, and he's narrating to Shaunaka. So Shaunaka wants to know, in this age of Kali, one of the three questions, how are people to get access to Lord Vishnu? Because when Krishna departs Dwaraka and Dwaraka disappears, Kali Yuga begins. Where is Vishnu to be found in the age of Kali? That's the question. Skanda Purana. Shaunaka asking. So Sutta narrates the whole range of Krishna's pastimes, from Vrindavan, Mathura, then Dwaraka, Krishna's disappearance in Dwaraka. This is in the Dwarka Mahatmya section. And then Dwaraka, or Yadupura, becomes submerged in ocean water. So, according to Skanda Purana, then Arjuna in Indraprastha made a palace and a temple for Krishna. Then the symptoms of the age of Kali are described: quarrel, hypocrisy, loss of interest in spiritual authority, speculating on spiritual authority, dismissing spiritual authority and just taking their own authority. And the sages who were present at the time were very disturbed by this. And so the sages began to consider what to do. Similar to first canto, chapter 1, Bhagavatam. So then the question became how to get that shelter of Lord Vishnu in the age of Kali. They didn't have the answer. They went to Lord Brahma. That's a good place to go. They went to Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma said, I worship Lord Vishnu in the form of a tortoise, Kurma, and Matsya. But if you want to know how to find Lord Vishnu in this age of Kali, I suggest you go to Prahlad. And he often goes to be with his grandson Bali. You might find him in Sutala. So the sages go to Prahlad to find out how to find Lord Vishnu in the age of Kali. When they reached Sutala, Bali immediately received them, the sages, very nicely, respectfully. Prahlad was also there. Prahlad stood up. And because they're sages, and these are Kshatriyas, they received them in the proper, respectful manner. So then the question, how to find Lord Vishnu in the age of Kali, was repeated. Prahlad's reply. The sages are going to Prahlad because his qualification is he's a devotee, pure devotee. So he knows, because pure devotees know things that even sages don't know. Then he describes that the abode of Krishna in Dwarka, there's this place, Kushastali, founded by this king, Kusha, near the sea, and there's this place called Dwara Vat. Vat means possessing, Dwara means gates, the city of gates, Dwaravat, and Krishna is there. Men can attain liberation by going there in Kali Yuga. Here we are, men and ladies too. So then the sages asked the following question of Prahlad. When the Yadu dynasty met with its downfall, Lord Krishna had rescued the earth from its resultant burden, and then he left. He came to relieve the earth of its burden, as promised to Lord Brahma and Mother Earth in the form of a cow, and Krishna appeared and he relieved the earth of that burden. But then Krishna left. And when Krishna left, then the whole of Dwarka became flooded by the sea. So how, during this age of Kali, are we to get shelter? Prahlad's reply. Isn't this interesting? This is Purana. It's just like story after story, and it gets really complex. That's why I have a text here. It's so complex. I'm very familiar with the Bhagavatam, and the Skanda Purana is another story. So, Prahlad responds. Krishna was seated in a meeting when Uddhava told Krishna, Durvasa Muni has come. He's entered your kingdom nearby, because Dwaraka's out in the sea and Uddhava's with Krishna. Durvasa Muni has come nearby. And immediately Krishna stands up and says, let me go and receive him. Please make arrangements so I can, he's like as if he's human, he needs arrangements. Please make arrangements so I can go and receive him nicely. He's by the side of Chakratirtha, where the river Gomati enters into the sea. So Krishna goes there. And accompanying Krishna is Rukmini. Krishna comes before, in his role as a Kshatriya, with his queen Rukmini, before Durvasa Muni, and prostrates himself before Durvasa Muni, who starts inquiring from Krishna, oh, how nice of you to come. Krishna, please tell me about your well-being. Where do you have your residency? How are your finances? How are your subjects doing? And Krishna said, everything's fine. I've married 16,108 queens. I have 16,108 palaces. And I have children and grandchildren. And we have a whole dynasty going on. Everything's just fine. Durvasa Muni says there must be some sons. Well, Krishna says, of all these sons, I have 10 sons from each of my 16,000 wives. Each one of them has 10 sons and 10 daughters. There are 56 crore. That's a lot. What's it in, 560 million family members. Things are going pretty well, Durvasa. So Durvasa says, fantastic, this is really nice. What is it that you would like from me? Well, I'd like to invite you to come to my palace with Rukmini, and we want to honor you and offer you a meal. Because that's what you do when you invite a brahmana to your home and like that. Durvasa Muni says, you don't know what you're asking. I'm a very controversial person. And I'm very easily angered. And you may not like what's going to happen. So Krishna said, no. Whatever you wish. You can just mount my chariot. Durvasa says, no. A chariot with horses. That's not for me. You and Rukmini can be the horses. Krishna says, yes. We'll be the horses. We'll pull the chariot and you can ride in the chariot. Rukmini is very happy to have that service for a great sage. But it's a long distance from Chakratirtha to Dwarka. So in the course of time, she's delicate. She's not used to pulling chariots. She becomes fatigued. And she becomes thirsty. She hints that to Krishna. Krishna says, just tolerate it. And so she tolerates. But after some time, she's really thirsty. So with Krishna's heel, he makes a depression in the ground, similar to what we hear in Vrindavan, Shamakund. He makes a depression in the ground and fills it with sacred water called Charan Ganga. There's a place in Dwaraka called Charan Ganga, approximately 10 kilometers from Dwarka. We're not going to go there, but it's part of the manifestation of Dwarka, according to Skanda Purana. Durvasa, as she's about to drink the water, Durvasa Muni goes into a rage. What? You're going to drink water without asking my permission and offering me water first? You're an offender to a Brahmana. I curse you that you'll be separated from Krishna. Krishna said, because he's Brahmanya Devaya, if he upholds the words of the Brahmanas, even when it's uncomfortable. Rukmini, so be it. But don't worry, I'll visit you twice a day. Rukmini has only one thing in life, and that's Krishna. And she's now being separated from Krishna by the curse of Durvasa Muni. The sages hearing this from Prahlad went, how is this possible? She's the goddess of fortune. She's always with the personality of Godhead. How is it that a Brahmana can interfere with the personality of Godhead and his eternal consort, the goddess of fortune? Prahlad said, he doesn't answer the question directly, he just says, but he answers it in course of time. Rukmini began to cry, uncontrollably cry. As she was crying and crying and crying, Narada Muni came. He's really expert to know when to appear and what to say, and he pacified her and said, stop moaning and groaning here, Rukmini. Don't worry. You're the eternal consort of the personality of God. There's no separation. Everything's going to be all right. Just at that time also, Varuna, the god of the sea, appeared. According to Skanda Purana, Varuna is considered the father of the goddess of fortune, because from the churning of the milk ocean, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, came. So in the perspective of the Skanda Purana, the goddess of fortune is Rukmini. She's the goddess of fortune. So she's the daughter of Varuna. Varuna comes and says basically the same thing. And they both say, be patient, it's all going to work out. Varuna says it again, yeah, what he said is correct. And to help you feel relieved of your grief, I'll make an arrangement for the Ganga to appear. I'll bring Ganga here, and you can take solace taking bath in the Ganga. So Vishnu Padi, one of the rivers in the Dwaraka region, was manifest by Varuna. And because of the presence of the Ganga, the whole place became a very, very beautiful forest. This came to the attention of Durvasa Muni, who became double enraged. How can Rukmini and how can Narada and Varuna do something contrary to the purpose intended by the curse of a Brahmana? There'll be hardly any water in this area. Rukmini, her one purpose of life is Krishna, anyways. So she became so despondent, according to Skanda Purana, she decided to hang herself. Anyway, so she took her chadar, put it around her neck, and suspended the chadar from a branch of a tree and was hanging herself, according to Skanda Purana. Krishna came to know. Krishna came, released her body from that noose and just held her in his arms. So her life came back. she was practically lifeless, and consoled her, saying, don't you know who you are? Basically, didn't you hear what Narada and Varuna said? We're eternally connected. How can there possibly be separation between us? Because you're my potency. So how this can't be. Krishna dismisses not the utterance itself, but the effect of the utterance. Now Krishna is in the heart of Durvasa also. Durvasa has this uh-oh experience. Uh-oh. The goddess of fortune. In my anger, I've done something very bad towards the goddess of fortune. Uh-oh. So he comes to that location where Rukmini, having had a noose around her neck, and Krishna are there. And because of the confidence restored in her by Krishna, Rukmini forgives Durvasa for his uttering of his curse. It doesn't take away the curse. Krishna then says to Durvasa, can I ask for a benediction from you? Can you always remain here in Dwarka? After what he's done, can you please always remain here in Dwarka? Please never leave this place. Durvasa says, I will if you can make the commitment that you'll never leave this place. Durvasa goes on to say, I give a further benediction that anybody who takes their bath in this Chakra Tirtha, where the river Gomati enters into the sea, they'll be freed from all sins. So it has very special significance. Krishna then says, I shall grant liberation to that man if, after worshiping Krishna, they go and worship my Brahmana devotee, because now he's entered Krishna's Bhakta program, Durvasa Muni. So there's a place in the main temple where there's a Durvasa Muni shrine. The conclusion of this narration from Skanda Purana is after Krishna, this is now Prahlad explaining, after Krishna left and Dwaraka became submerged in the sea, Krishna in his fullness entered into the deity. So anyone who comes on pilgrimage to Dwaraka, to this place where Krishna departed and then entered into the deity, they'll achieve all the benefit of being with Krishna when Krishna was manifesting his pastimes here in Dwarka during Dwarpa Yuga. Now it's Kali Yuga. There's the answer to that initial question. Now the Bhagavatam has a different, but it's similar. The different is by taking shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam, one gets the full benefit of Krishna's association because Srimad Bhagavatam is none different than Krishna. And Bhagavatam is telling us so many wonderful things about Krishna and Dwarka, that's why we're here. But our access is through the Bhagavatam, the process of hearing. This is Bhagavat Dharma. Shravanam, Kirtanam. It's exactly what we're doing. Then hopefully Vishnu Smaranam, that's what you're supposed to do when you leave. By the Shravanam Kirtanam. Carry Krishna in your heart. Understanding him, his nature, his love. We hear many pastimes. It's simply expressed in Bhagavad Gita, manmana. But how does that manmana happen? By Shravanam Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. But that Shravanam Kirtanam has to be done with faith in this transcendental reality that's beyond our eyes to see or our mind to imagine, but by the process of sound vibration, we can receive it and enter into it. That's our Bhagavad Dharma process. There's a few more narrations that just are meant to glorify from Skanda Purana the power, the potency of Dwarka Dham. I have 7 minutes, and so I'll just quickly go through them. Skanda Purana references, there's 2. There's a sannyasi that falls down and gets redeemed by the mercy of Dwarka. And so there's this sannyasi that lives at Kashi. He had a nice name, Tridandi. And Tridandi was at Dashashvamedha Ghat, same place where where Lord Chaitanya instructed Sanatana and Rupa Goswami, Dashashvamedha Ghat. He was at Dashashvamedha Ghat taking his sacred bath in the sacred Ghat. But down the ways a bit was a beautiful woman who was also going to take her bath in the sacred Ghat, who was naked. And fire and butter. The butter melted. He had union with this young lady. And it became a regular habit. And his spiritual qualification became lost. Very similar to the Ajamila narration. And it goes on and on and on with much detail. Because his Brahminical strength was gone, he resorted to all kinds of sins and lengthy description of his sins. He became a meat eater, he was in a forest, and he died. But because he had some good merit, earlier he didn't right away go to hell. Instead, he became an animal. According to this narration of Skanda Purana, it started with a wolf, then a tiger, then a snake, then a fox. And he lived the life of each of those life forms continuously. It continued for 7 lifetimes. Then eventually, in his 7th lifetime, he became a rabbit. Then in his 8th lifetime, he became in a human form, but a demon. And in the demon form, he was residing in the Vindhya hills. He suffered terribly for a long duration. By chance, this Yadadrichaya, some good fortune came. He saw a pilgrim that had just come to Dwaraka, happily pilgrim. But when he just saw the pilgrim, as he drew closer, he became purified. One who had been to Dwaraka. So you're in Dwaraka, you're going to go back. Hopefully you won't meet a Rakshasa who wants to eat you. But hopefully you'll be carrying thoughts of Krishna in your heart, and that can be of benefit to others. That's the intention. Just by seeing him, he became free from the mountain of sins that would have otherwise been who knows how many lifetimes of suffering. And he fell at the feet of this pilgrim and asked him, how has this power come? And the pilgrim said, well, I just went to Dwarka and saw Dwarkadish. Then I took bath in the Chakratirtha, the confluence of the Gomati River and the sea, and all of my sins have gone. So immediately this Tridandi, now in the body of a demon, went to Dwaraka, became purified, and went back to Godhead at the end of his life, according to Skanda Purana. The power of one who has received the mercy of Krishna in Dwaraka can give benefit to others. Sounds like Sankirtan, right? I mean, this is Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan mission, being described indirectly. But with Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan mission, there's a specific instruction of Lord Chaitanya. These two things, same as Prabhupada was given by his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta. Receive this message of Lord Chaitanya, go to the distant parts of the world, the English-speaking parts of the world, give the message of Krishna to others. It'll be simultaneously good for you and for them. So note, I'm answering the question that's going to be asked at the end of every yatra. How do we carry this forward? I'm answering it the first day. Remembrance of Krishna and carry the message and glories of Krishna to others. Carry Krishna in your heart by understanding who he is, not just sentiment, but beyond sentiment. By knowledge, by good intelligence, hearing the message of Scripture, seeing the deity form, hearing the holy name, and being immersed in Shravanam Kirtanam, so then Smaranam will be there, and share that devotion for Krishna, your appreciation, however it is that you appreciate Krishna, to others. Last, from Skanda Purana, there was a Brahmana with the last name Sharma, Chandra Sharma. And Chandra Sharma was a Shaivite. From Avanti, which is present-day Ujjain, area of Dwarka, near Prabhas, that's known as Somanath or Somnath. It's a deity of Lord Shiva. We'll hear about it because we're going there. Som indicates the moon god, and Nath, the lord of the moon god. We'll hear some more. So he went to Somnath, big festival, many sages, many learned people, religious people, had big Somnath festival, and afterwards, those sages were heading for Dwaraka. Chandra Sharma didn't go to Dwaraka. He was only going to worship Lord Shiva. The next day, Chandra Sharma was going home and he had a vision. Ghostly forms, wailing, an eerie sound, crying, making strange sounds. And he asked, "Who are you?" Chandra Sharma. And they said, "We're your forefathers." And Chandra said, "Well, how did you get these ghost-like forms? How did that happen?" The forefathers said, "We didn't observe the Dwadasi day." Ekadasi is specific according to Scripture. Of course, others that are not Vaishnavas don't follow for this reason. But it's a day of Vishnu. And we didn't properly observe Ekadasi, and so now we have these ghost-like forms. Chandra didn't like that answer. He said, "How is that possible? All you need to do is worship Lord Shiva. And whether you do these other rituals or you don't do these other rituals, what's the problem?" Their reply was, this is Skanda Purana, that if you fail to observe Dwadasi, which means, you fast on Ekadasi and break with grains on the Dwadasi day, there's no way of overcoming the reaction except for proper atonement. And we didn't do that atonement. Basically, like you, we didn't have that faith. You say, just worship Lord Shiva. Well, first, this is the ghostly ancestors saying, first you worship Lord Vishnu, After worshipping Lord Vishnu, you give the prasad of Lord Vishnu to Lord Shiva. And then the remaining, just as exactly as it's done in Jagannath Puri, the same principle is described here for Dwarka. This is the proper procedure. According to Skanda Purana, and who is Skanda? Skanda is the son of Lord Shiva. He had two sons. He and Parvati had two sons, Ganesh and Kartikeya, or Skanda. To Lord Vishnu was offered to Lord Shiva, and then the prasad, Maha Prasad, is offered to the Devas, and then the rest is distributed to the Brahmanas and everybody. That's the procedure in Jagannath Puri. It gives the same example as the Bhagavatam. You pour water on the root of the tree and everything is nourished. We have to worship Vishnu. So Chandra Sharma says, well, gee, now that you're in these ghostly bodies, is there anything I can do as your ancestor to relieve you of that condition? Yes. Go to that, you just had this big festival at Somnath. Go to Chakratirtha, take your bath there, and then following that, go take darshan of Krishna. You've done your ceremony over here at Somnath. Now go take darshan of Krishna in Dwaraka. Chandra Sharma did that. He became relieved of the reactions that would have come to him, as happened to his forefathers for that neglect. There may be some persons in this audience who, in their upbringing, they had this particular tradition in their family or in their community or whatever of worshiping Lord Shiva. So the instruction here is don't neglect the worship of Lord Shiva, but understand the worship of Vishnu comes as is done in Puri, and the prasad of Vishnu is offered. So Chandra Sharma followed that advice. When he came before Krishna, Krishna spoke to him. This is the conclusion. O good Brahmana, let there be your welfare. Along with you, your grandfathers will come to my abode. Look at your ancestral grandfathers seated on the back of Garuda. They have become free from ghosthood by my grace. And in Skanda Purana, the forefathers ascending on back of Garuda offer praises to Krishna. Last section. O Chandra Sharma, best of Brahmanas, I have been pleased with your devotion. Though a Shaivite, you have become a Vaishnav. Though you have not religiously observed the Dwadasi Vrata for 79 years, the same has become complete beyond doubt by my grace. Through your heart-touching observance of fasting on the day meant for me, Sakadasi, and by the grace of Dwarka, as well as by your having my darshan, this has become possible. You did not worship me. This is Skanda Purana. You did not worship me due to your ignorance and due to your infatuation under devotion towards Shiva. I have, however, actuated the same by my grace. O Brahmana, go back to your own place. All of your desires will be fulfilled. My devotees do not get destroyed, even at the final end of creation. My devotees never get carried away by anything ominous. Indeed, nothing ominous can really exist for crore of their elite clan. So by your deliverance, they're also delivered. Krishna is very kind. And this is taken directly from the Dwaraka Mahatmya section of the Prabhas Kanda section of Skanda Purana. And again, just to say it one more time, the reason for narrating all of this is because the layout of Dwaraka is like that, following the utterances of Skanda Purana, and there's many others, obviously. So many chapters just on Prabhas Kanda and Dwaraka section of that. So when you see the deity, you'll see different presentations. We'll cover that maybe after breakfast when we get together again. When you go into the, you'll see. So also here in Dwarka, places of Krishna's pastimes, eternal Dhams, manifest to worldly vision according to this description. So we're going through the oil and trying to enter into the ocean of rasa of Krishna and his eternal abode as he discloses it to us through sound vibration. Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Dwarkadish Dham ki.